The most confident people are those that can laugh at themselves. And Donald Trump could never, ever laugh at himself because he's the most thin-skinned, insecure little boy.
As President Trump killed comedy, is the late night genre in dire straits? Welcome to the Sanity Podcast. I'm Dave Briggs here with Allison Camerata, and we are digging deep into comedy today and late night in the wake of Stephen Colbert's firing, Allie.
Yeah, Dave, I see this in very stark, alarming terms. I don't just see this as, oh, well, another network loses its late night host. I see this as an authoritarian society. I mean, history has shown us comedians are the ones who are often exiled and jailed and fired because, I mean, I don't want to be too alarmist about this or to put it into such stark terms, but that is part of the playbook. All powerful leaders don't like to be made fun of. And so when I see things that smack of that, I've really been looking forward to this conversation that we're going to have today with Pete Dominick to see if he sees it in those stark terms or if I'm just being too alarmist.
Yeah, Pete was the warm-up act for Stephen Colbert for 6 years. So he has insight into Stephen, his talent. He talked to him since he was fired. He also is the host of the Stand Up with Pete Dominick podcast. And I also asked him if the woke left has kind of killed comedy, which you have heard from several stand-up comedians in the recent past, including Jerry Seinfeld, and that has been my interpretation. But Pete also weighs in on the WNBA dildo controversy, and he has a punishment for the crypto bros responsible. But we start with Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and Fallon, and President Trump apparently threatening to wipe out the entire late-night industry. Listen.
Fallon has no talent. Kimmel has no talent. They're next. They're going to be going. I hear they're going to be going. I don't know, but I would imagine.
Welcome to the Sanity Podcast. I'm Dave Briggs here with Allison Camerata. Please subscribe to the channel and like this video. We're talking about late night and the fate of Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, and Jimmy Kimmel with the former warm-up act for 6 years for Stephen Colbert, Pete Dominick. He is the host of Stand Up with Pete Dominick, the podcast. He's got his Colbert coffee mug all ready to go. Pete, good to see you. What do you make of that threat there from President Trump sounding like he wants the other two out?
Of course he does. They make fun of him endlessly all the time. Dave, Allison, it's great to see you. But Trump is going to continue. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel has given him a harder time probably than anybody else. And so he's going to continue to try to pressure those networks to fire those guys. And I say, bring it.
What does that mean, Pete? Like, what do you mean, bring it? It's working. He did get Stephen Colbert's contract not renewed. In other words, fired. So why is that a good thing?
It's a good thing because he got him fired and they left him on the air. It's a good thing because it only brings more attention to Colbert. And it's also a good thing because, as you guys know as well as I do, traditional TV as we know it is dying slowly. Late night TV is dying even faster. And so Stephen was always going to transition into something else. He gets his contract paid out. He is now got more eyeballs on him than ever before because, guys, as we know, who wants to answer to network executives when you can do your own thing, as we all are?
Yeah, but one follow-up to that, Pete. So you don't think that this has a chilling effect on comedy and on comedians, that Trump is going after them? And the reason that I ask is because historically we know that authoritarian regimes in other countries do exile comedians or at least take away their incomes. And so do you see that at all on that trajectory, or am I being alarmist?
You're not wrong. I mean, it's happened to me because when you're effective and when you're upsetting people, they do try to silence you. It's been a long time since we talked to Allison, but in my town, I was really effective at the school board meetings and on social media and trying to, fight for the diversity in our schools and racism and sexism and the anti-gay forces in my town. And they called like an anonymous child protection services call on me and said I was like assaulting my kids. I speak about it openly because I want to make sure people know that they do try to silence you. And it's not just the government, which is the ultimate cancellation, but it's your neighbor. It's local people who are powerful that will say, yeah, sure would be terrible if something happened to your car tires and so on. And so comedians do have to be concerned because it's not just the president. It's crazy people all over the country who are threatening violence and some who carry it out, as we know.
We mentioned you were the former warm-up act for Stephen Colbert. Here's how Trump characterizes the man you warmed up for years.
Colbert has no talent. I mean, I could take anybody here. I could go outside on the beautiful streets and pick up a couple of people that do just as well or better. They get higher ratings than he did. He's got no talent.
Your thoughts?
Stephen Colbert is arguably one of the most talented comedians of our generation. Like, I'd put him in top 5. What he did at the Colbert Report, playing that character for 9 seasons, was one of the most impressive things anybody in comedy and satire has ever done. He's original. He speaks truth to power. He always punches up. And I might not find certain comedians funny, but they're filling up arenas. You know, Greg Gutfeld is getting huge ratings. I know Greg, I think he's funny. I don't like what he's doing, but he's got a huge audience. So saying that someone is not funny is just so weak. It makes you look weak and jealous.
I'm glad you mentioned Gutfeld, because he's outrating all 3 of the late night hosts on the broadcast network. What does that tell you about the state of comedy? Has it leaned too far to the left?
I honestly, you guys, I think the biggest thing about that number is that he's on it an hour earlier. And you have way more people watching television than you do at 11:30. But at the same time, I'm not taking anything away from him and his huge following. I think it's become easier for Gutfeld because he's been able to make more and more racist and sexist and kind of transphobic remarks and get away with it. And there's an audience for that. It's funny to a lot of people. It's funny to me sometimes, but it is funny to a huge percentage of Americans. Look at who our president is.
Here's what I want to ask you. Because of your relationship with Colbert, do you know how they took the news? Do you know how Colbert and his staff, was this a shock to them? Do they see it in the same authoritarian terms?
I have heard from Stephen himself, and I have heard from plenty of people that work there. And I would characterize their reaction with just anger. I don't think they're shocked. It's really like a family. Colbert being our father and taking care of everybody. And so everybody there is going to take care of him. And so what they're doing right now, and I'm sure he sat them down and they had a really open conversation, but he said, we're on the air till May. Let's do the greatest work we've ever done. And then they, huddled up and said, let's go. LFG. I'm sure that's what they do, because Stephen is one of the most courageous comedians that we've ever seen. I mean, he got put on the map, burgeoned his career at the 2006 White House Correspondents' Dinner when George W. Bush was right there and he made fun of him. He attacked him, really. And every night at the Colbert Report, Stephen took a question from an audience member who asked about that day, about that event. That's who he is, and that's what they're going to do. I think he should run for president or office at least, but I don't think he will.
Why do you think Stephen Colbert should run for president?
He's probably one of the most decent people I've ever met in my life. He's inspiring. He's generous. He's probably one of the most intelligent people I've met in my life. My whole job has always been to find smart people and ask them questions. He's tops. Dude is tops in terms of intelligence, brilliance, passion, authenticity, all of the qualities that you would want in any leader. And America is, a lot of America at least, is desperate for a good person.
Do you think he'd consider it? And what about Jon Stewart?
I think they both should. I think either would be amazing. Jon has obviously been an advocate for first responders, post 9/11, healthcare bills, and has never relented on that. He doesn't really care about your politics. He kind of cuts across. I don't think either of them will, because I don't think either of them want that in their lives.
Pete, what do you think about Bill Maher and how he's been doing? It seems to me, but maybe I'm imagining things, as though he has been pulling some of his punches against Trump ever since he went to the White House and was so dazzled during that dinner with Kid Rock and Trump. And it does seem to me that he's not going as hard at Trump.
I know Bill, and I'm not sure that he's pulled his punches. Maybe I haven't paid closely. I'd be curious to see what you mean, what you think. But he got a lot of grief from across the spectrum for sitting down with Trump. And of course, Larry David wrote that column in the New York Times comparing him to sitting down to Hitler kind of thing. And so I don't know. I don't think he's really pulled his punches. I think that he's happy to piss off everybody all the time. I think that's kind of his brand. But you may be right.
I hope that's true. I just feel like it's been less stinging since then. I feel like he was somehow won over a little bit. And by the way, I love sitting down. I love the idea that people from opposite ends of whatever spectrum will sit down and talk to each other. What I object to is coming away and thinking that matters. That just because you're charmed by somebody at dinner, that their policies aren't still abhorrent.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine a weaker kind of argument. It's like saying that you're not sexist because you have a wife. Like, no, I'm great to women. I'm married one.
I do have one last question about Colbert, and it's, according to the stats, he hosted 176 left-leaning guests, one Republican since 2022, and I would guess a similar ratio with Fallon and Kimmel. Is that a mistake?
No, and it's also a bullshit statistic. Where does it come from?
This comes from Newsbusters.
Yeah, it's bullshit. Do you think that Colbert didn't invite JD Vance and every single crazy right-winger on? They don't come on with him because he's too good and embarrassing them. It makes no sense for someone.
Do you know that? Do you know that they try to book conservatives?
Of course. Of course. It's a bullshit statistic. You think Stephen Colbert is afraid of booking anyone? No. That guy would love, he booked Trump. I mean, Trump, he would have anybody on that would go on and he would rip them and he would get huge ratings.
I don't know. I'd be really curious because I watched Colbert's interview with Kamala Harris and I thought it was, look, I think Stephen Colbert is brilliant. It was weak at best. No questions about Biden's mental decline right in front of Kamala Harris. No questions about really pressing her on how she blew an election by not answering tough questions and sitting down for interviews. I thought it could have really been an interesting, compelling interview.
See, I didn't see the full thing, but I think that it's a late night show and they're trying to be as entertaining as possible. But I would agree with that criticism. I think you should generally hold everybody's feet to the fire. And this idea that we're not entertaining right-wing opinions or that academia is got a liberal bias. You miss me with all that nonsense. It is way up on bullshit mountain, including that statistic that you just cited from that bizarrely discredited organization, Newsbusters, which is so right-wing and conspiratorial. I'm pretty sure they were birthers back in the day.
Pete, when Trump says, I hear that Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon are next, that sends a shiver down my spine because
he messed up. I think Allison misspoke because he didn't want us. Because I don't think he wanted to sound like he has absolutely been demanding it. But the thing that's weird that people sometimes forget is he commits all of his lies and crimes in public. He's been publicly posting. So he's demanded that they fire Kimmel and everybody else publicly. And he's definitely doing it privately. But he didn't want to be seen as like putting his finger in the scale because he somehow thinks he wants it to make it seem like the market's doing it. He's making networks kiss the ring and give him millions of dollars. Of course he's making the decisions. And it should chill you. I mean, it is terrifying that the fact that right-wingers think that liberals are cancel culture. There's so much cancel culture. They're so politically correct. What? The government of the United States is canceling TV shows and people. The government.
I agree. And by the way, they're canceling them because President Trump doesn't like being made fun of.
Hold on. We all know the stat. Stephen Colbert was projected to lose $40 million this year. That is a significant chunk of change for any network that's seeing declining viewership.
I don't necessarily know that stat.
Another bullshit statistic, Dave.
That is Puck News, and they do not deal in
It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And even if it were true, I'll explain that right now.
Yeah, go.
Every single show is losing more money than they did the year before. All of them. These networks are dying slowly or rapidly. But the more important statistic, spin it this way, not that it lost $40 million, that it was or is the cash cow for CBS. It's still making huge amounts of money and ad revenue. It might not be making what it did the year before because when
they say losing $40 million, they're taking ad revenue against cost, plain and simple.
Look what happened with NBC's with Late Night with Seth Meyers. They got rid of the band. It was a huge cost. They could have easily cut their costs and made huge profits. Tell me, Dave, what are they replacing in that time slot that's making more money than Colbert? I'll tell you, nothing. Reruns of Tracker or whatever the hell else makes them money.
Yeah,
Nothing.
something that doesn't cost a lot of money. What's really interesting about this Paramount merger is South Park is not playing ball. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are coming out of the gates hotter than I've ever seen at the administration. Here's a clip.
Hey, Satan.
They're disturbing.
The reason why that's hard for me because that sketch is so in line with my marriage. I think I went through that exact thing trying to have sex with my wife. But more importantly, that is amazing. That is a rerun, a redo of Saddam Hussein and Satan. That's the last time they did that bit. They brought it back for Trump, but sorry to jump in.
Is it too juvenile, though? It is not the smartest comedy I've ever seen.
I mean, fine. Maybe to you, maybe to me, maybe to somebody else. But I watched you watch it, Dave, and I watched everybody else watch it, and I didn't watch anybody turn it off. I'll tell you that much.
I just have to say, I think we're missing the point. I don't think the point here is whether or not a particular comedian is funny or making money. I think the point is that, again, a government is telling comedians that whether or not they can have their paychecks. I think that's what really, really spooks me. I Googled before we came on to see if it's ever been seen in public, Donald Trump laughing, because I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't have an image in my head of Donald Trump laughing. So I Googled it. There are scant examples, okay, like on one hand. And when it happens, the internet blows up because they're like, oh my God, I think Donald Trump just actually laughed. Like people are out trying to capture this. So there are like 3 times that people can find. And one of them, he was laughing at a reporter, like at her expense. So he does that. But again, this is why all of these comedians are being threatened. I just want that to be the bottom line.
The most confident people are those that can laugh at themselves. And Donald Trump could never, ever laugh at himself because he's the most thin-skinned, insecure little boy. That's who he always has been, Allison.
No, I will actually give J.D. Vance a little credit, he actually laughed off his characterization in South Park and said, well, I finally made it, which is the appropriate response. And Charlie Kirk had the same response. Like, I guess that means I'm culturally relevant. Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, didn't like this.
Because detaining and questioning people is never easy.
Noem called that lazy and sexist. What do you think?
I mean, Kristi Noem is evil. What she's doing is pure evil. And I think that most Americans recognize that, no matter how you feel. Like tearing apart families and putting innocent people in like concentration camps. And if you might not agree with the way I articulated that or my opinion, but I promise you that's why she was targeted first. I promise you there was a meeting between those guys and their writing staff at South Park and said, who's next? And then someone said, you know what? The most important and horrible thing that's happening in America right now is family separation and putting innocent people in jails and deporting people who've not committed crimes. Let's go for Kristi Noem. And that's why we went for her. They picked on the worst thing about her, that she killed her own dog. And listen, I think killing dogs in cartoon format is funny. I think, thank God for animation so we can laugh at horrific things that we would never, ever otherwise laugh at. And that's what these guys have always done. They've used animation to get away with things that you can't otherwise.
I will let I get back to Allison here. Trey Parker, and I'll give him credit because he says, look, I hate conservatives, but he's also said, I hate liberals even more. He's very clear, like he wants to ridicule both sides of the political aisle. He goes after religious figures. Nothing is out of bounds for South Park, and that's what comedy used to be, and I wish it was once again.
I have one rule. I think it's ridiculous to punch down. Like, I think it's ridiculous to write jokes about vulnerable people. I just don't. It doesn't appeal to me. It doesn't occur to me. A lot of people do it. A lot of people want to make fun of trans people. I'm like, I don't. Why would you do that? As Mark Maron said so eloquently this week, they're already down. They've already lost everything. Like, what are you doing? It's so hack. It's not courageous. And it's weak. Who wants to look so weak?
But Dave, are you suggesting that you think comedy's gotten too woke? I don't understand. Like to me, I mean, I agree with Pete that the best comedians, there's no sacred cows. They skewer the sacred cows. And I think that when Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert. When it was Biden, I mean, weren't they also making fun of the administration?
Well, I'm a big Jerry Seinfeld fan, and he believes that the comedy really has taken a beating in this woke generation. Yes. And I agree with his characterization of that. I think
He's
the
walked
woke
that
has hurt.
He's walked that back. I want to press Dave more because I want to argue, but I mean, I think woke is a good word. And when I was called woke, when I started out in comedy, it was by Black people and Black audiences, because as a white guy, I would go on and I would kill for an all Black audience. Very few white comedians could do that. And it made me a way better comedian.
I would say Dave Chappelle has uttered similar characterizations, right, of how the woke mob has hurt comedy.
I mean, yeah, but he's always talking about trans people. He has lost so much of his luster and reputation for going after trans people. It's really bad. Dave's the best of all time, and by most of our definitions. But what he's done now, like a lot of comedians when they get older and they're like that. There's a lot of similar criticism about the greatest of all time, George Carlin. At the end of his career, he just became like more preachy than funny. But yeah, I mean, comedy is not too woke. It's that idea. Nobody thinks that in comedy. Put it that way. Very few comedians think that.
I am curious from a comedic standpoint. How do you value this whole Epstein file nonsensical cover-up? Like, it's the worst fucking cover-up in the history of politics. Like, as a comedian, what do you make of this?
You first have to approach it with any joke. You have to remember that there were dozens, hundreds of victims.
Yes.
And so, I mean...
But from an administration standpoint, like, Donald Trump has had one friend over the last 30 years, and it was Epstein.
Birds of a feather flock together. And we all know this. Sexual predators tend to hang out, talk, share their secrets, their wonderful secrets that they have. That's what Trump wrote in his note to Epstein. And they protect each other. They definitely protect each other. Obviously, we know about the entire, archdiocese, the Catholic Church. Institutions do this. Individuals do this. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, why would you attack a trans person or make some like super sexist joke about women or Black folks or something when you could attack sexual predators? Why wouldn't the theme and the meme that we're making fun of be that these guys are the worst guys committing the worst crimes and constantly projecting that they protect the kids? They don't protect the kids. They don't care about the kids. They're preying on the kids.
So, Pete, when I feel disheartened by the fact that it feels like this is a factor in slipping into authoritarianism because get rid of the comedians first, I feel like I hope that what you're going to tell me is that they're not going away. And you were saying before we came on that there's all of these comedians who host podcasts. Like, I love the idea that you can get rid of them at the top of a legacy media network, but you can't kill comedy.
I mean, I think it's a really important concern and question. But what's that German priest poem? First they came for, and they name all the different communities of people that they came for. And then I said nothing. And then they came for me. It's the same here with entertainers, I think. So yeah, you're going for the most influential people with the biggest platforms, Colbert, Kimmel, etc. And then you work your way down to, this woman who I love watching on Instagram parody Caroline Levitt every day. And this is what fascism is. If I'm going to do this for a living, and if I want to do it in the way that I do it and continue doing it and maintain my own integrity and reputation, then I can't worry about my safety and security. But you worry about your families. I worry about my daughters, worry about my ex-wife, and they will put pressure on us in every way that we can.
I do want to get your take quickly on the WNBA dildo throwing controversy. We've had 5 dildos thrown on the court in the WNBA. 2 people arrested, and now a crypto company, specifically a meme coin company, has claimed, I guess, credit for these acts. Is there any humor to it, and how should we punish these crypto bros?
Is there not humor to this?
Well, throwing a dildo on a court that could potentially end a player's career, and let alone the disrespect towards women's sports.
But meaning, like, if a player tripped over a dildo?
Yeah, that could really in the middle of a basketball game, Allison. Yes, really. But as far as
I get it.
Hey, what ended your career? I rolled my ankle on a dildo.
I mean, look,
Yeah.
let's stay focused here. Is there any human?
No, Dave.
Dave,
No, Dave. Allison, I want to hear Allison say dildo like 5 more times.
Great.
Oh, I plan to. Because it's also a bright green. It's like a chartreuse dildo, right?
Yeah.
In there?
It is bright green, and rather large as well.
Rather large. I think it's horrific. When I first saw this, I was like, find the guy who is doing this, pull him down the center court and beat him with that dildo. That's the punishment I wanted to be prescribed. And now to know that it was an organized PR campaign, you know, like it's so unbelievably sexist and childish. And I hope that there's some kind of consequence for it, but it's women succeeding in the most overt way on stage, you know, and then having to deal with actual dicks being thrown at them. I can't imagine a better metaphor for what women have to deal with every day than that.
Should Sophie Cunningham and Caitlin Clark and company put them in the middle of a circle and beat them with dildos?
Yes, Dave, that's what I'm calling for. Was I unclear? I don't know if they should have to do it. I think that I would like to come out from the audience. Like, I think fans should be able to do it. I think they should sit back and watch, and they don't want to get hurt beating someone with a dildo.
I like this. Dildo Justice. This is a great new podcast. Dildo Justice. Who should be pummeled next with a dildo? I mean, you're welcome, America.
Pete, I had forgotten to ask you a question from a viewer about Greg Gutfeld, who recently on The Five suggested that conservatives bring back the word Nazi and that they should consider adopting it and say, what up, my Nazi? Hey, what up, my Nazi? Now, obviously he's kidding, but what do you make of that line there?
I mean, it's just silly. It's just to get attention. It's not funny. It's stupid. No one's doing that. Greg's always been really irreverent and crazy, and he gets a lot of attention and laughs because of the ridiculous things he says, many of which he just, thought of up the top of his head.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like we've covered Dave. Have we covered every base? I feel like we
have.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we've really brought the comedy back to dildos, back to Nazism. I feel like we've really
Satan, Trump's small privates. Yeah, we've touched the bases here.
God, I wish you guys would cut in with a live read ad for dildos, and I wish Dave would be the one to do it.
Pete, it's so great to see you. It's really great to see you. Thanks for
Nelson, I mean, you've always been really, really good to me. But I remember reading your book and interviewing you for it and seeing that side of you. And then, of course, just watching you and your career blossom and seeing you and following you on Instagram. It's I'm really excited to see you, to catch up with you. And I've always had a lot of respect for you. And Dave.
Fail up.
Great to see you, buddy. Thank you guys for having me.
I've got good hair.
Dave, I'm a big fan. Always been a big fan since he was on every early morning. I turned Dave on very early, and I'd get the news on CNN with my friend Christine Romans. I miss those days. You guys are great.
Damn, I sort of miss those days. All right, check out Stand Up with Pete, the podcast. Appreciate your time, my friend.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Pete.